Billionaire's incredible secret exposed on blind date, surprising love blossoms with judgment-fraught tension. Emily wiped her hands on her apron, glancing nervously at the pocket watch gifted by her mother. Time was slipping away, and so were her dreams of becoming a chef instead of serving plates of food to customers who barely noticed her. Every order she took was a reminder of the culinary empire she had yet to build, a dream tainted by the weight of bills and her ailing mother's needs. Reluctantly, she agreed to a blind date, hoping for some distraction from the overwhelming pressure. She stepped into the upscale restaurant, feeling the claws of luxury scrape against her self-worth. It was surreal, a world far removed from the diner where she poured coffee into chipped mugs and wiped down sticky tables after the last customers left. Was this what love was supposed to feel like? She forced a smile as she approached Daniel, who sat at the table with a restrained smile that hinted at arrogance. The aloofness made her stomach churn. Could someone polished as he really understand the sacrifices she had made? They exchanged pleasantries, but she wrestled with doubts about her worthiness to even share a table with him. Then, as their conversation shifted from banal chatter to personal stories, a flicker of connection ignited. Emily spoke of her single mother's sacrifices, how she juggled jobs to keep them afloat. Daniel, too, shared his background. His father had been an immigrant, struggling to offer him a life beyond wealth, emphasizing family over status. Emily couldn't help but feel warmth in their shared vulnerability. Yet, shadows loomed. What does she know about our world? She instinctively recoiled at the startled laughter of Lucas, Daniel's business partner, cutting into their moment like a knife. Lucas's judgment wrapped around her throat, tightening with every chuckle. Emily felt the room's edges close in. Was she merely a fleeting distraction to Daniel, not fit for his grand narrative? The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence. She could feel her face heat up. She yearned for connection, yet the doubts piled against her like an avalanche. Would Daniel still find her appealing if he truly knew the weight she carried every day? The pressure to elevate herself, the burden of her mother's illness, and her dreams felt like chains anchoring her in place, rendering her incapable of reaching for the life she imagined. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment Daniel began to speak again, Emily was jolted back to the present, her heart racing. What if she opened up, showing the raw truth of her life? With a mix of despair and determination, she pondered the dichotomy of their worlds. She wanted to believe he was genuine, but Lucas's words swirled in her mind like a dark cloud. As the night pressed on, the tension morphed into a tangible force, shackling her thoughts. Just as Daniel leaned forward, the flicker of vulnerability shining through his demeanor, Emily noticed a familiar face across the room, a ghost from her past who held the power to shatter everything she'd begun to build that evening. The decision weighed heavily on her, and as silence fell around them, she knew they were teetering on the edge of something both exhilarating and terrifying. Would she have the courage to confront her fears and take a step toward an uncertain future, or would the realities of their worlds unravel the thread connecting them? The stakes had never been higher. Emily's eyes locked onto the figure across the room, disbelief rooting her to the spot. It was Mia, her estranged high school friend, whose own journey had taken a tragic turn, leaving Emily with a tangled web of fears and regrets. Lost in a whirlwind of memories, Emily hesitated. She felt an urge to confront her past, yet the weight of Daniel's gaze pulled at her, demanding her attention. She had to make a choice. Should she shield herself with the moment she was building with Daniel, or lay bare her fears surrounding her past with Mia? The stakes of her decision loomed like dark clouds, threatening to wash away this flicker of connection that she had just started nurturing with Daniel. It didn't help that Lucas's mocking laughter still echoed in her ears, each chuckle reinforcing her fears of inadequacy. Daniel reached out gently, breaking through her internal storm. "Hey, are you okay?" His voice was steady, his brow furrowed with concern. His presence soothed her momentarily, providing a flicker of safety against her chaos. Emily swallowed hard, torn. I think I have to go," she stammered, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. The flatness of her tone belied the tumult within her heart. She pushed her chair back, the sound cutting through the ambience of the restaurant like a shout in a quiet theater. "Emily, wait." His hand shot out, grasping her wrist gently. His warmth contrasted the shiver of panic coursing through her. In that instant, Emily felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Did Daniel see her as she truly was, or as merely an illusion crafted from polite smiles and small talk? "I need to figure some things out," she managed, taking a step away from his grasp. The truth of her life, her struggles, her dreams swirled around her, suffocating her ability to articulate the whirling chaos in her mind. As she stepped away, she felt the exhilaration of freedom and the crushing weight of doubt mingle in her chest. Would confronting Mia mean confronting her own failure to build a future? Shoving these thoughts aside, she forced herself to walk toward the bar where Mia stood, a mixture of sadness and nostalgia spreading through her veins. "Mia," she breathed, as she reached her old friend, whose eyes widened, a storm of recognition breaking across her features. Memories flickered to life, nights spent plotting futures, laughter echoing through their shared dreams. "It's been a long time. Emily." Mia's voice trembled but held a challenging edge. "I didn't expect to see you here." Every word and gesture was loaded with unspoken history, a chasm between who they were then and what they had become now. "I know we haven't talked in a while," Emily began, her voice faltering slightly as she glanced back at Daniel, who was watching her closely, confusion etched on his brows. "But I can't keep pretending everything is fine." Mia crossed her arms, her expression softening yet tinged with the bitterness of the past. "You think it has been for me?" Each word exchanged felt like heavy stones, and Emily wondered if this reunion could offer clarity or merely invoke more pain. Meanwhile, Daniel remained at their table, an unknowing witness to the unraveling of Emily's carefully woven facade. He had opened a door into a world of comfort and potential, and now, standing face to face with her past, it felt like it might be closing just as quickly. As laughter and clinking glasses faded into the background, Emily's heart raced. Confrontation loomed large before her, and the edges of her existence began to sharpen, revealing that each choice carried the weight of both hope and despair. Would she step through the threshold of her own making and seize her dreams, or let this moment slip through her fingers? She stood ready to confront her fears, aware that the path forward would require her to reconcile with both her past and the possibility of a future. "Let us talk," she finally said to Mia, her voice steadier now, resolve building within her. Just as the weight of those words pressed down her throat, she caught Daniel's questioning glance. "One more time." And as the tension coiled around them both like a serpent ready to strike, a realization seeped through: the moment to determine her own fate had arrived. Would this reunion with Mia be the catalyst for Emily's metamorphosis, or just another ghost tethering her to a past she wished to escape? Determined to find out, she took a breath, caught in the delicate web of possibility, slightly aware that everything was about to change. Emily squared her shoulders, the suffocating pressure of uncertainty giving way to a flicker of resolve. She hadn't come this far, only to buckle beneath the weight of her past. As she and Mia settled into a quieter corner of the bar, she was struck by the familiarity of the space, the scent of well-aged whiskey mingling with a hint of fresh lemon. It was almost comforting, but tonight, it felt like a storm brewing. "Why now?" Mia asked, arms crossed defiantly, a protective gesture masking vulnerability. "After all this time, you just want to talk?" Emily could hear the disbelief in Mia's voice, feeling as though it were an accusation. The memories of their long-ago bond lingered like shadows, reminding her of both joy and betrayal. Because I can't keep pretending. I thought maybe she trailed off, grappling with her emotions. Maybe we could find a way back from this. Find a way back? Mia leaned in, her hazel eyes narrowing. You don't know what I've been through, Emily. You waltzed away to your perfect life while I dealt with the words faltered there, the wound still raw. Emily clenched her fists under the table, her own struggles flashing through her mind. But I never wanted to leave you behind. Do you remember the plans we made? The dreams? Those dreams faded the moment you chose to distance yourself. You chose your future. I was left with mine unraveling. Mia's voice shook while her brow furrowed in defiance. The reality hit Emily hard. She was devoting energy to feelings of guilt instead of acknowledging her own struggles. You're right, I made choices. I ran from what was painful. But I can't let fear cage me anymore. I wanted to reconnect, to bring us back to that time when we were each other's support. There was a longing in Mia's gaze, but it was compromised by a veil of hurt. Why should I believe you? Was Daniel just a distraction to forget? Emily flinched at the mention of Daniel. It was true she had found comfort in his steady presence. But how could she explain that Daniel was a beacon guiding her toward confronting the chaos within? That her connection with him laid bare the self-doubt she had carried for too long? No, he's different. He makes me want to be better. Facing you makes me want that too. Silence settled like a thick fog between them, leaves from an autumn tree swirling around their feet. Emily felt the pressure of her past crashing in, suffocating her burgeoning voice. Apologies hung in the air, a tension-filled moment filled with unshed tears and vulnerability. Mia's facade finally cracked, her arms dropping to her sides. You think I'm the same person you left behind? I'm not. I've been fighting to get back to who I used to be. And right now, this feels impossible. Emily inhaled sharply, words bubbling to the surface. Mia, we've changed. But does that have to mean we can't evolve together? We can stare down our demons and face them. We owe ourselves that chance. Mia stared at her, a flicker of hope dancing in her eyes before the defenses shielded them once more. What if I can't forgive, Emily? What if then let us talk about it? Let us unpack this together. The urgency in Emily's voice channeled something fierce within her, something she never wanted to lose again. Each heartbeat thudded in her chest, the realization of a significant shift unfolding before her. Maybe this meeting wasn't about reconciliation alone, it was also a mirror reflecting her own inadequacies and the strength she yearned to reclaim. Daniel's image hovered at the edges of her thoughts, but this moment was for her and Mia to navigate. More than fractured nostalgia, this was an opportunity for both of them to define what they wished to become. As Emily prepared to dive deeper, ready to face the complexities of their relationship, she sensed a newfound clarity weaving through her resolve. It was a chance to ascend, not just as a friend but as a woman who wielded the courage to confront her fears with the very being who had once shared fragments of her heart. But just as Emily opened her mouth to continue, a flash of recognition crossed Mia's face. What if I told you I'm still not ready? That I'm scared of what it might mean if I open this door? The weight of Mia's question settled deep within Emily. It was a pivotal moment, one that could lead down a path of revelation or retreat once more. With steely determination, Emily answered, then let us face that fear together. We can't go backward, but we can choose to walk forward. It's what we owe ourselves. The air thickened with anticipation, but as Mia assessed Emily's earnest resolve, a veil of uncertainty loomed. The choice hung suspended, and Emily felt tension coiling tighter around them, waiting for the fragile thread of their connection to either pull them together or snap them apart entirely. What lay ahead was entirely uncharted territory, but one truth resonated fiercely within her: change was imminent, and the moment of truth was cruelly near. Would they step forward into the unknown or allow it to swallow them whole? Emily's heart raced as she waited for Mia's response, the air thick with the weight of their shared past and the tension of uncertainty. She had prepared for this moment, rehearsed her words in her mind, but now that she was here, nothing felt certain. Mia looked away, a conflicted expression crossing her face. Emily's thoughts raced, spinning a web of doubt and determination. Each second felt like an eternity as they sat in silence amidst the bar's lively chaos. She could sense hope within Mia, tempted to break free from her defenses. But what if it remained trapped? What if Emily's courage was swallowed by the heavy veil of unresolved resentment? "Mia," she said, her voice steady, anchored by urgency. "This is our chance to be open, to let go of what we've carried for too long. I know it's scary, but what if the truth brings us both the freedom we need?" Mia sighed, her fingers tapping nervously against the table. "I'm tired, Emily. Tired of pretending everything's fine, tired of struggling to be okay with my own choices. You don't understand. It's not just about you." The flicker of anger ignited within Emily, but she quelled it, knowing that anger would only push them apart. "You're right, I can't fully grasp everything you've faced. But I want to understand. Whatever you're feeling, I'm here to listen." Mia's gaze shifted, the barriers around her heart wavering for a moment. "You made it sound so easy to just open up and share everything. I don't know where to start. I don't even know if I want to. Maybe start with the pain. What did it feel like when I left?" The words poured out of Emily, unfiltered, almost desperate. She needed Mia to confront that pain, just as she was doing. Mia shifted uncomfortably. It felt like betrayal. "You were my rock, and when you walked away, everything fell apart. I thought you were above it all, living your perfect life while I spiraled." There was a heaviness in Emily's chest, her own memories of guilt rushing back. "I was terrified, Mia. I thought isolating myself would help me cope. But it only isolated me further. I let you down when you needed me most, and that's something I've lived with every day." Mia stared at her, a mixture of disbelief and sincerity swimming in her hazel eyes. "But you're not that person anymore, are you? You've changed. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about it." The admission hit Emily like a sharp breeze, a cold reminder that change is a double-edged sword. Part of her was thrilled that her growth was recognized, yet she felt the underlying fear of rejection creeping back. "You have no idea how hard I've fought to get here, to confront my demons. I don't want to hide behind who I was. I want to be vulnerable with you, but I need to know you'll meet me halfway." Mia's arms folded again, an instinctive guard against the threat of deeper connection. "It's easy for you to say that now. What happens when things become uncomfortable again? When the old patterns resurface?" "Heck, I'm already uncomfortable," Emily shot back, her heart pounding with frustration. "This feels like a tightrope walk, and I'm scared of falling. But if we don't take this chance, what do we have left?" A moment of stillness enveloped them, as if the entire bar held its breath. It was a delicate balance, a tipping point between fear and hope. Emily could feel the pulse of change crackling between them, raw and unfinished but full of potential. "I need time to process this," Mia finally said, the defeat in her voice unmistakable. A part of Emily wanted to scream, to shake her out of her uncertainty. But she held it in, recognizing that forcing it wouldn't help. "Fair enough," she replied, trying to maintain composure despite the sinking feeling in her chest. "But time can also serve us in ways we don't anticipate. It can give clarity. Just remember, I'm here, ready to build a bridge if you'll let me." Mia appeared to consider this, her eyes softening as she met Emily's gaze. But just as she opened her mouth to reply, their conversation was interrupted by a loud commotion at the bar. A group of rowdy patrons had spilled something, laughter and shouting filling the air. In that moment, Emily realized how close they were to an important breakthrough and how easily it could be shattered by distractions both external and internal. They needed to confront these fears and find a way forward, time was an enemy and ally all at once. Before they could pivot back to the conversation, the ruckus drew their attention, exposing the underlying tension even further. Emily's heart pounded from the uncertainty hanging in the air. She could sense this was merely the beginning of a drawn-out battle that would force them to confront not only each other, but also themselves. How do we navigate what's coming? Mia whispered suddenly, fear lacing her words. With steely determination, Emily faced her uncertain future. We face it head-on, together. That's how we evolve. But deep down, she wondered, would it be enough to overcome the shadows of their past? What new truths awaited them in the uncharted territory of their evolving friendship? Emily pulled her gaze from the chaos of the bar, her focus returning to Mia. The laughter and shouts faded into a dull roar as she grappled with the weight of Mia's words. For years, they had danced around their issues, skirting close but never fully engaging. Now, here they were at a precipice, staring down into the depths that had separated them for so long. What if we do this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper as she drew Mia deeper into the conversation. What if we stop holding back? The words tumbled out with a visceral urgency. If they were to rebuild their connection, it needed to be built on honesty unvarnished and raw. Mia met her gaze, uncertainty mingling with something else. A flicker of hope? A challenge? Emily couldn't tell. But she felt a rush of blood in her veins, an electric invitation stirring them both beyond the safety of silence. I want that, Mia admitted, though her voice trembled. But it feels like we're standing on sand. One misstep, and it could all wash away again. I don't have the strength to keep losing you. Emily sensed the walls tumbling, a fragile opportunity hanging in the air. She leaned in, allowing her vulnerability to show. This moment was about more than words. It was a chance to test all her growth, every step she had taken toward authenticity. What if we just let it all out, right here, right now? Sometimes clarity comes from the chaos. With a heavy breath, Mia's tension softened a fraction. Could you handle my truth? The question hung, heavy with dark possibilities. Emily's heart ached at the thought of what Mia might reveal, shaped by their tangled history. Yes, Emily declared, her resolve unwavering. I can. I'm ready to know who you are now, the whole you. Every fear, every flaw. I want to hear it. Mia's hesitation lingered, like a moth circling a flame. What if you don't like what you find? Then I'll confront it. I've spent years avoiding my own demons, I refuse to avoid yours. The fire within Emily surged. She felt emboldened, illuminated by the honesty of the moment. Slowly, Mia nodded. Okay. The single word felt monumental, a gate opening toward a path they had long ignored. Start wherever feels right, Emily encouraged, feeling her own walls tremble with trepidation. She knew this was as much about Mia as it was about her willingness to listen. Each revelation would be a building block, chipping away at the stone of resentment, regret, and betrayal. Mia shifted, a pained expression glazing her features. I thought you were better off. You were succeeding, while I felt like I was drowning. That part of me, the part that didn't know if I'd ever have any of that, it wanted to push you away. Emily felt a pang of recognition. I understand. I did the same thing. It was easier to isolate myself than to struggle in the open. But isolation doesn't heal, it festers. Mia squeezed her eyes shut, biting back the swell of emotions. I didn't want you to think I was weak. So I kept pushing harder, pretending to be someone I'm not. I felt lost, Emily, but I was too ashamed to admit it. A swell of empathy rose within Emily, pulse quickening at the revelation. You are so much stronger than you realize. You fought through all that, didn't you? It doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Mia opened her eyes, surprise flickering as their worlds collided in that shared understanding. Light broke through the walls of protection. But you've changed. You're not the same Emily who just left. The admission resonated within Emily, and she paused, reflecting the duality of her journey. No, I'm not. I've learned to embrace the messy parts of myself. I've failed, stumbled, and grown. And what if I'm afraid to change? Mia whispered, vulnerability cracking her tone. Then let us face that fear together. I'm here, and I won't leave you behind, Emily promised, feeling the solid foundation of their connection starting to forge anew. But deep within, doubts crept in. Could this fragile moment withstand the weight of their collective past? Emily understood that this conversation was only the beginning. They needed to untangle the years of bitterness, resentment, and truth. Do you think this is enough? Mia finally asked, breaking the silence that had fortified their resolve. Are we ready for what's next? I don't know. But I'm willing to find out. As Mia's expression faltered, uncertainty still loomed in Emily's heart. This was just a singular step into a complex labyrinth of feelings and fears. The idea that they may uncover unexpected truths about one another loomed large, threatening to shake the tenuous grip they were starting to re-establish. But just as hope sparked within her, a sudden thought made Emily shiver. What if not everything they discovered was meant to bring them closer? The fear of hidden dangers stirred in her gut as the night around them buzzed with noise. Would truth really be their ally, or would it unlock a darker chapter in their story? Emily's thoughts swirled as the noise of the bar faded further, becoming a mere backdrop to the emotional confrontation she faced. The weight of unspoken truths hung in the air, thick and suffocating, threatening to shatter her cautious optimism. She had stepped out of the shadows of complacency, but now stood before emotional precipices she hadn't anticipated. Facing both her own and Mia's fears was an uncharted territory that demanded more than bravery, it needed an openness that could be terrifying. Mia's words lingered in Emily's mind, replaying the echoes of uncertainty, fear, and regret. The betrayal that once consumed them now lay across the table, ripe for examination. What if their honesty only dug deeper wounds? Yet, in the swirling chaos of emotions lay the potential for true connection. Emily missed Mia, the version of her who could laugh freely, unabashedly, without the overshadowing specter of fear. She craved that person back, but the battle ahead felt insurmountable. Emily. Mia's voice pulled her from her reverie. Do you remember that time we stayed up all night talking about our dreams? A faint smile crept onto Emily's lips. You meant your dreams about being a famous painter while I was convinced I would become a corporate mogul? What if I told you that what I really dreamed about was feeling whole? That as much as I wanted success, I wanted to feel connected even then. The truth hit Emily like a splash of cold water. This was the raw vulnerability she had yearned for. That matters. It matters so much, Mia, she replied, trying to mask the quiver in her voice. This was more than nostalgia, it was an invitation to redefine everything. In that case, here's my truth: you and your success intimidate me. I felt I couldn't measure up, no matter how hard I tried. I wanted to push you away because it felt easier than admitting my own insecurities. The admission struck Emily like a hammer to a fragile foundation. Mia held herself together, but the cracks were visible. The effort it took to layer strength over vulnerability spoke volumes. I thought you were the strong, independent one. I never realized you felt so small next to me, Emily said quietly. It was a revelation that toppled her perception. I didn't consider that I inadvertently conferred that pressure on you. Exactly, Mia said, her voice rising just above a whisper. You lived a life that I only dreamed of. I didn't want to drown in that abyss of comparison any longer. It was like peeling layers of wallpaper to reveal the raw wood beneath, painful yet liberating. We both held on to our isolation, just different versions, Emily breathed. You were trying to protect yourself from me, from my success, while I kept you at arm's length to keep my illusions intact. Mia nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. What's the point of success if you're alone in it? The question settled like a stone in Emily's chest, an anchor to reality. She had spent years chasing accolades, thinking it would fill her emptiness, but it only deepened her solitude. At that moment, Emily realized the fundamental shift needed within herself. "Let us redefine what success means to us, together," she offered, her voice steadier. "It's about fulfillment, connection, and growth, both personal and professional. We don't need to compete, we need to collaborate, uplift one another." Mia visibly relaxed, the air between them shifting. "But will we hold each other accountable? What if one of us backslides into that dark space again? Then we confront it together." "No more hiding, no more isolating," Emily affirmed, her conviction deepening. "This isn't just about you or me, it's about us as a unit, deciding to face our truths and challenges head-on." Mia looked into Emily's eyes, hope flickering amid the trepidation. But a new tension threaded through the air, an understanding that this was merely a step. The path ahead would not be simple. As laughter erupted from the bar, Emily felt a flicker of resilience ignite within her. Challenges lay ahead, but they could face them together, no longer specters in each other's lives. Just then, a figure caught her eye across the room, and a chill raced down her spine. "Emily," Mia's tone shifted, noting the change in her demeanor. "What is it?" She squinted against the fading glare of the bar lights. The figure approached, a familiarity blooming, and dread seeped in. It was someone from her past, someone who could unravel all the hard work they had just begun. "Someone I never wanted to see here," Emily whispered, her heart pounding with an unsettling mixture of dread and defiance. "And I think they're headed this way." Emily's heart thudded loudly in her chest as she recognized the figure weaving through the throng of patrons. Memories flooded back, each one layered with regret and unresolved emotions. It was Mark, the partner she had once trusted, whose betrayal had been a catalyst for her estrangement from Mia. In that moment, she faced a daunting reality: old wounds threatened to rupture anew, and all the progress she hoped to make with Mia could be stumbling into the jaws of chaos. "Stay close," Emily said, her voice low and taut, as she instinctively reached for Mia's hand. She felt a surge of protectiveness for both of them, a reminder of how intertwined their journeys had become. Mark's approach was slow and deliberate, a predatory calm that sent shivers up Emily's spine. "Emily," he said, a smirk creeping onto his face as he stopped before them. "What a surprise to see you here. You're looking, well." Every word dripped with condescension, igniting her rage. She remembered the way he had made her question her worth, how each compliment felt like a double-edged sword. "What are you doing here, Mark?" she managed, forcing the words out as ice crystallized in her throat. "Just enjoying life, like anyone else," he replied, his eyes narrowing as he turned his focus to Mia. "And who's this? Your new safety net?" The jab pierced her, but she refused to give him control over her emotions. Instead, she squeezed Mia's hand tighter, feeling the warmth radiating from her. "This is Mia. Not that you'd remember her." A flicker of recognition flashed across Mark's face. "Ah, yes, the artist. I heard you fell off the radar. Too busy chasing Emily's shadow, I suppose." "Enough," Emily interrupted, her voice sharper than she intended. The quiet tension in the bar felt almost suffocating, and she realized this confrontation wasn't just about Mark. It was about her, reclaiming her narrative, dismantling the guilt he had insidiously cultivated. "You're not welcome here. We're working on something important." "Right," he scoffed, shifting his stance as if her words only amused him. "Important? What can you possibly achieve together that you couldn't separately? You're both so busy pretending to be something you're not." The sting of his words cut deeper than she'd like to admit. Beneath the veneer of strength she'd forged, insecurities bubbled, threatening to resurface. But looking at Mia, she felt a surge of courage pulse through her veins, reminding her of the promise they had just made. "I'm done pretending," Emily said, her voice steadying. "The facade of perfection that you pushed me toward is shattered. I will not measure my worth by your standards or let you manipulate my past. If anything, witnessing that pressure manifested in our isolation has shown us both what true success looks like. Mark's expression shifted, surprise mingling with annoyance as he realized this was not the response he had expected. Perhaps he had thought he still held some power over her, a conviction she was now resolutely shattering. So you think you can just walk away, huh? Forget about everything I did for you? He challenged, leaning closer, his voice low and insidious. What you did for me? Emily echoed, anger bubbling beneath her calm exterior. You suffocated my ambition and stole my sense of self-worth. You define help by control, and I'm done with that aspect of my life. You have no power here. Mia watched, wide-eyed, as each word spilled from Emily's lips, no longer the walls of indifference but a declaration of autonomy. This wasn't just about Mark anymore, this was about reclaiming her space, her truth. Perhaps it's you who needs to reflect on your life choices, Mark. Mia stepped in, her quiet confidence resonating with Emily. Leave us alone. We have no interest in the toxic legacy you left behind. Mark shifted back, caught off guard as Emily and Mia stood united, a fortress of solidarity. She could feel the strength growing between them, the bond they were beginning to forge anew. They had faced the specter of the past together, the shadows falling away from the warmth of understanding. But as Mark's stance shifted from anger to mockery, Emily braced herself for whatever would come next. This isn't over, Emily. Mark my words, you'll regret crossing me. The air caught in her throat as her pulse quickened. He had always been a master of intimidation, and despite the progress she felt, that ancient fear still nagged at her. As he stalked away, the memories of his manipulation lingering like a shadow, Emily turned to Mia, her heart racing with a mix of triumph and dread. I know he'll try to hurt us both again, but I refuse to live in fear. Mia nodded, determination sparking in her eyes. We won't let him. Together we are stronger and we can face whatever else comes our way. But deep down, as they stood in solidarity, a nagging question remained. What other hidden specters would rise in the wake of their renewed truths? And would they be prepared for the onslaught of challenges to come? Emily stood in the pulsating dim light of the bar, the recent encounter with Mark whirling in her mind. She felt an electrifying mix of relief and anxiety, not just from what had transpired, but from the unraveling of her past, each layer exposing wounds she was no longer sure how to navigate. Are you okay? Mia's voice cut through her thoughts, reminding Emily that she wasn't alone in this. I think so, Emily replied, taking a deep breath. The sweetness of triumph from standing up to Mark was momentarily overshadowed by a haunting uncertainty. But I feel exposed. Like I've pulled back a curtain and can't hide anymore. Mia's gaze bore into her. This is a good thing. You stood up to him. You showed him you're not afraid. The sincerity in Mia's words sparked a flicker of determination within Emily. Right. I stood up, she repeated, testing the affirmation in her own mind. It was true that the veneer of self-doubt had begun to crack, but was it enough? Was she truly prepared to face whatever Mark might unleash next? Let us get out of here, Mia suggested, breaking Emily's reverie. The solace in her voice encouraged Emily to abide. Together, they wove through the scattered tables toward the exit, leaving the remnants of their earlier fears behind. Once outside, the crisp night air was invigorating, a fresh perspective blanketing her worries. What now? Mia asked as they ambled down the street. Emily glanced at the bright lights casting shadows on the pavement. Now, we focus on what we began. My designs, your art. We can't let him disrupt our momentum. As they strolled down the sidewalk, fragments of ideas filled Emily's head. Each thought crystallized into a vision, the kind that swelled with potential. Perhaps her next move was not just a response to Mark's threat, it was an opportunity to redefine her identity on her own terms. Over the next few days, Emily immersed herself in her work, sketching wildly. Each stroke grew bolder as she tried to assert her newfound autonomy. Away from the shadows of doubt, she felt liberated, a sensation that she craved even more. Mia became her creative partner in every sense. They spent long hours over coffee and canvases, crafting an exciting synergy that felt electric. In the evenings, they deconstructed their past experiences, laughing at errors they believed had once been insurmountable failures. Each conversation chipped away at their mutual insecurities, creating space for genuine friendship to flourish. However, as their bond deepened, Emily found herself grappling with a different tension. The weight of Mark's specter loomed ominously over her life. Every moment of creativity was laced with the nagging fear of confrontation. Despite their progress, the uncertainty nagged at the edges of her mental landscape. One chilly evening, as they finalized ideas for a local exhibit, Mia leaned back in her chair and sighed. "Don't you feel it? The closer we get to unveiling our work, the more that ghost of Mark feels like he is coming back." Emily nodded, a shiver coursing through her. "It's like I can't escape him. I want to drown those memories in confidence and creativity, but he is always there, an unwelcome echo." "Then let us turn the fear into fuel," Mia suggested, her voice unwavering. "What if we face him head-on? Use the art as our weapon? If he'll come at us, let us show him we're stronger." Feeling the fierceness in Mia's resolve, Emily's heart raced. This idea, reckless yet liberating, suggested something profound, a chance to confront not just Mark but the remnants of her self-doubt that clung too tightly. As anxiety melted into determination, Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We can prepare our exhibit to showcase not just the art, but everything we've overcome. Our truth." "You mean, take him on with our art?" Mia asked, the thrill evident in her tone. Emily's pulse quickened. "Yes. Let our success speak louder than his words ever could. But first, we need to perfect our craft." With adrenaline coursing through her, Emily knew this was not just a creative endeavor, it was a stepping stone into a future where she dictated her narrative. As plans materialized, a thought darted through her mind. Would she be able to outpace her past, and to what extent? Where do we even start? Mia's question hung in the air, transforming into a challenge that beckoned them forward. Emily smirked, confidence igniting within her. The time had come to face our greatest fears, together. And maybe we would find that the walls Mark built were nothing but echoes of our past. Yet even amidst this burgeoning hope, doubts lingered like shadows in the corners of her mind. Would their bravery be enough? And what if Mark didn't fade away quietly? The unsettling truth was that the real test was just beginning. As dawn broke over the city, Emily could see the first rays of sunlight filtering through her window, bathing her small studio in a warm golden hue. She had spent half the night sketching, fueled by a sense of urgency to solidify the vision that had begun to entangle her heart and mind. Each line she created felt like a declaration, not just against Mark, but for all the parts of herself that had been lost or buried under the weight of his influence. Rising from her desk, she stepped back to take in the collection of designs spread across the wall. There was boldness in their chaos, a reflection of the tumult inside her. The images told a story raw, gritty, and real. Gone were the days of hesitation, her art pulsed with life, every stroke exuding defiance that countered Mark's shadow. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from contemplation. It was Mia. "Ready for another productive day?" "Absolutely," Emily replied, an excited flutter dancing in her chest. "Let us tackle it head-on." The two met in a cozy cafe, their usual workspace. The air filled with the rich aroma of coffee as Emily laid out her new designs on the table. They were a burst of color amid the muted surroundings, a direct contrast to her earlier work, cagey and subdued. Each piece represented a facet of her journey. Mia, energized by the transformation, grinned as she picked through the designs. "I'm convinced we're onto something massive. This isn't just about the exhibit, it's about reclaiming your narrative, Emily." Mia's words resonated deeply. It was a revelation that settled in Emily's chest like a warm blanket. A realization washed over her that she was no longer a passive player in her life. She had begun to take ownership. She was drafting not only images but a manifesto of her resilience. Yet, as they delved into planning the details, a familiar knot of anxiety began to twist in her stomach. What would Mark think? What if he tried to undermine their efforts? The specter of his judgment hovered at the fringes of her mind, threatening to derail her progress. "Talk to me, Mia pressed, seeing the shift in her demeanor. "What's the concern?" "It's just," Emily hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "What if he shows up? What if he finds a way to destroy what we're building?" Mia leaned forward, her expression fierce. "Then we handle him. We've crafted this strength together. Remember what we vowed? Show our growth through our work." Nodding, Emily felt a spark of defiance. But beneath the fire lay deeper currents: fear of confrontation, fear of rehashing old wounds. She glanced out the cafe window, the world bustling with life, unruffled by her internal struggle. "Okay, let's map it out," Emily said, her determination fiercer this time. "We'll create an outline for our exhibition. Each piece needs to convey not just beauty, but our journey. The trials, the triumphs, everything." Inspired by their brainstorming session, Emily poured herself into her sketches in the days that followed. The exhibit was rapidly evolving, taking shape as a tapestry of her life's narrative. They infused their creativity with themes of empowerment, vulnerability, and ultimate release. Each piece became like a chapter in her story, curated for impact. But within this whirlwind of productivity, an unsettling question punctured the surface: was she simply masking her fears with art, or was she genuinely prepared to confront Mark? As the days turned into frantic nights, tensions crystallized. Emily felt both alive and trapped, a balance of exhilaration and anxiety threatening to topple the scaled walls she had worked so hard to construct. Finally, the time came for them to view the gallery space. Standing before the blank walls, Emily felt the air thrum with possibility. What lay ahead was not just an exhibition, it was a confrontation of her inner self made visible to the world. "I can't believe we're almost there," Mia said in awe. "All of this, for you. For your truth." "That's the point," Emily replied, taking a deep breath, a surge of adrenaline coursing through her. "It's time for my voice to be heard." But just as clarity washed over her, the back of her mind reached for a thought she was desperate to shake. She couldn't ignore the nagging sensation that Mark would not remain a distant memory much longer. Would tonight's unveiling of her work risk reopening old wounds? Determined not to back down, she whispered a silent promise to herself: she would embrace this journey, no matter the consequences. As they exited the gallery, her thoughts turned inward, realizing that the ultimate confrontation was looming closer than ever. "Ready for tonight?" Mia asked, sensing the weight of Emily's hesitation. "Ready," she replied, though doubt seeped into her tone. The truth lingered in the air, fueling her resolve. But in the depths of her uncertainty, she could sense the inevitable approach of a reckoning the moment Mark would confront her again. And that thought churned in her stomach like a storm, leaving her breathless. Would she rise to meet him, or would her fear stop her in her tracks? As the evening of the exhibit unfurled, excitement electrified the atmosphere, thrumming with potential. Emily stood backstage, surrounded by her creations, heart racing with mingled anticipation and dread. This was it, her moment to step fully into the light, to unveil the truth she had hidden for too long. Each piece spoke of her journey, capturing the essence of her struggles and victories, yet the memory of Mark's contempt still coiled tightly in her chest. Mia bustled around her, arranging the final details, determination shining in her eyes. Emily marveled at how far they had come together. Each brushstroke had woven not just art but a bond of accountability and support. They were no longer governed by fear, rather, they were fueled by an intrinsic strength, bolstered by their shared vulnerabilities. Remember what we talked about, Mia said, standing firm in front of Emily. This is about your narrative, your journey. No one can undermine that. Nodding, Emily steadied her breath, reminding herself of her resolve. The fears that had beset her were merely echoes of a faded past. She was done allowing the shadows of others dictate her worth. The gallery began to fill with guests, sophisticated chatter blending with the soft strains of music, and Emily's pulse quickened. Over the years, she had perfected the art of smiling through discomfort, yet tonight was different. She was here to reveal her raw truth, to confront and transcend. Then, as if the cosmos aligned to test her newfound resilience, she spotted him in the crowd. Mark. All at once, her heart dropped into her stomach as adrenaline surged. His familiar, cocky grin twisted in her direction, and the unsettling memories flooded back uninvited. Deep breath, Mia said, sensing Emily become unmoored. You've got this. Just focus on the art. With a deep inhale, Emily anchored herself. It was now or never, and she refused to slip back into that past. As she stepped into the gallery, visibility expanded like the opportunity laid before her. Conversations hushed as eyes turned her way, curiosity illuminated the room. She presented herself calmly, resolutely, preparing to introduce her work. This exhibit represents a journey, not one of triumph over others but of triumph over self, she began, her voice steady. Each piece embodies a moment of clarity born from chaos, a lesson learned in darkness. The audience hung on her words, and her voice grew stronger as she spoke. Transformation is not just an ending, it is the culmination of every challenge faced, every fear confronted. As she wove through her narrative, the memories of Mark's harsh judgments faded, becoming nothing more than distant wisps of doubt. By embracing her past instead of resisting it, she reclaimed her power. She paused, allowing the silence to settle over the space. Then, her gaze locked onto Mark's, unflinching. And to those who think they can diminish us through ridicule, know that we will rise. You see, I am not defined by your perception, I am defined by my choices. A ripple cascaded through the room, a palpable shift in energy. The collective breath of the audience reflected a tide of solidarity and understanding. Emily had cast light on not just her journey, but an acknowledgement of every individual who had faced challenges of their own. She felt Mia's hand on her shoulder, a silent gesture of fierce support. In that moment, Emily had conquered one of her greatest fears, openly confronting the specter of her past. After her speech, conversations erupted around the artwork, the pride in her heart radiating through her. As the crowd lingered, appreciating her creations, she felt a sense of fulfillment cascade through her fingers, sending tingles of satisfaction to the tips of her toes. Mark stewed in the background, a storm brewing behind his eyes as he processed the proclamation of her transformation. But for Emily, his presence became inconsequential, a fleeting challenge against the solidified support she had nurtured within herself. As the night progressed, guests praised her work, and an air of respect surrounded her. One by one, she accepted congratulations, recognizing that this wasn't just about the art but the courage it had taken to unveil her truth. The gratitude swelled within her, this was hers to own. Later, when the crowd thinned, Mia approached her with a radiant smile. You did it. Look at what you've built. Emily couldn't help but smile back, a genuine warmth flooding through her. I really embraced it, didn't I? Mia nodded enthusiastically. You proved that your past doesn't define you. You stepped into your power. Feeling liberated, Emily found her gaze wandering back to Mark, now enveloped in a dark corner of the gallery, his expression lost between resentment and disbelief. Amusement flicked through her mind as she realized a final piece of growth awaited her. With newfound confidence, she walked directly over to him, heart steady yet charged. You may think you know me, but you don't. I am not your shadow anymore. Mark opened his mouth, but the words crumbled under the confrontation of her gaze. You cannot step back into my life. I am no longer bound by your definition of my worth. Turning on her heel, she felt lightness surge through her, an authentic acceptance of self. Today, she had not only confronted her past but had carved out a space for her future. Proudly, Emily returned to Mia, a smile blooming across her face. The air felt different now, the fear had been transmuted into a deep sense of accomplishment. "Ready for whatever comes next?" Mia asked with a bright smile. "More than ever," Emily declared. "Together, we'll face it all." They stood side by side, ready to step into a future unshackled by their past, wholly transformed, and irrevocably empowered. The night stretched ahead with potential, a testament to their journey and evidence of their undeniable strength. With a final glance at her artwork and memories both painful and empowering, Emily embraced the clarity of her unfolding life. Triumph awaited, and she was prepared to seize every moment. Remember to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement matters.